Vegas Stats and Information Network. It helps to be connected, and nobody knows more of the bookies in Las Vegas than Brent Musburger. It's My Guys in the Desert with the legend of the guys behind the counter, broadcasting only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network at vsin.com and SiriusXM Channel 204. Live from the VSIN studios, it's the one and only Brent Musburger.
All right. I'm all in bed. You got to love Thursday. The parlay cards are out. The super teaser cards are out. And we've got NFL football time. Not a real attractive matchup, but Mr. Mayulo, what do we have? Miami at Houston, Deshaun Watson and the Texans on a little bit of a winning streak. Haven't been all that impressive this season, but what are they against the Dolphins and Mr. Brock Osweiler?
Up to 7.5 from 7, Brent. And let's remember this: it's Thursday, so this starts our week, and we take this matchup and we'll go with it. But Texans getting the majority of the money, 7.5. A little bit of a move to the under. Teams not scoring a lot of points. 45.5 down to 44.5, and the Texans approaching 3.5 to 1 on the money line.
Brent, Houston comes in playing extremely well. They've won 4 in a row. But what's going to be interesting in this dynamic tonight is the fact that Brock Osweiler makes his return to Houston, where they signed him to a 4-year, $72 million deal. I want to see how this Houston team plays against it, because Osweiler basically cost them a season when their defense was healthy. I don't like Miami in this spot simply because I don't think they have enough offense going up against that Houston defense. On the flip side, Deshaun Watson coming off that collapsed lung, that's a bit disconcerting if you're looking at betting on Houston, because if he goes down with another injury, how does that impact the offense going forward?
Yeah, and I doubt that the lung is completely healed yet, although that was a pretty good bus that he trekked home in from Jacksonville to Houston. You know, they travel rock stars.
12 hours on I-10 is a long time. I'd rather take the 2 hour and 20-minute flight.
Trust me. Those are really luxurious buses, okay?
You know, Brent, we talked about the matchup, and while it might not have a lot of the glitz, it's still an isolated game. And the fact that this is the Thursday night game, the handle on this one will be about 4 times more than it would be, let's say, if it was a Sunday morning game, probably 5 times more than if it was a Sunday afternoon game. So we'll take it and we'll go with it.
Can I give the advice I always give?
Go
if
ahead.
This game were on a Sunday and you weren't going to bet it, why are you going to bet it if it's on a Thursday?
Because it's isolated and it's a pro game.
Well, hold on a second. What's your objective? To make money or to be entertained?
You may not bet it.
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to help people out there. There are better games out there.
People behind us are going to be involved.
I say go to the NBA. A TNT double dip, all right? And it's attractive.
Yeah.
The first game is going to be Boston at Oklahoma City. The Celtics on the road, and they have become the road favorites. Vinny, this one flipped.
It did. And we had the Brent, think about this. Thunder, 1.5 to start. Now the Celtics are 1 and climbing. The total on this one. Now, we've talked about how totals are up at a pretty good pace, about 5, 6, even 7% in some cases. No different here. 212 up to 217.5.
Brent, if you like the angle on the Celtics here, one thing I like is they're coming off a home loss to Orlando. Arguably one of the worst losses they're going to have all year long, about a 10, 11-point home favorite in that one. They have an opportunity against a good Oklahoma City team. I'm not sure if the Thunder are going to be in stride enough to be able to necessarily keep Boston off the win column here tonight.
Okay, at halftime, you can check out what's going on with the Dolphins and go back for the second half. And then the second game of the double dip rematch time. Mm-hmm. Denver goes into the Staples to take on the Los Angeles Lakers. The Nuggets are a favorite, but they were a bigger favorite than that earlier today, Vinny.
Yep, you're right, Brent. They opened as 4-point favorites, now sitting at 3. And remember this, not only are they 4-0 straight up, but they've covered all 4 of those games here. But the Lakers getting the home action in this one, 234, now 235 on the total.
And the Lakers are averaging 126.8 points a game to 113 for the Nuggets, so I can see why some of the folks are jumping on board. Speaking of the over, a lot of games went under last night. They had a full slate of games on Wednesday, but not the Golden State Warriors. Mr. Curry, Amal, goes off for 51. They put 144 points up, easily over that 235 total. Warriors win at 144 to 122.
I mean, this guy just continues to impress. 11 three-pointers last night, Brent. You just run out of superlatives when you talk about Steph Curry and what he's able to do.
Just amazing. A couple other games are going to start here within the hour at 4:05 Pacific time or 7 in the East. The Cleveland Cavaliers at Detroit, Portland at Orlando. I want to go to Cleveland. Cleveland has been dreadful. They are 0-4 overall and only 500 against the spread.
Brent, and not only that, but no Kevin Love tonight, too. This is a back-to-back for the Cavs. Looks like Kevin Love has got a bad ankle. This game up a point and a half, almost 2 points, from 8 to 9.5.
Brent, last night I had the Cavaliers, and I'll tell you what, they played well for the first half, and then they decided to take the third quarter off. They got outscored by 21.
So why didn't you do the Alabama? Why didn't you bet the first
Because I would have
half?
still lost the first half. They were minus a point and a half. I would have still lost. This team they can't get it done defensively. They give up 38 points to the Nets, and you look at the way the Nets shot the three ball. Very poor defense by Cleveland. I don't know if it's going to improve against this Detroit team coming in off that win the other night in overtime against the 76ers. Blake had 50. They should be able to abuse this Cleveland team once again.
One of the teams out west that's been on an overrun, the Trailblazers, and Portland tonight in Orlando. Portland averaging 124 points a game. And what do we have for an over-under? 214.5 here, Vinny?
Yeah, this one, this is the first of a 4-game road swing for the Blazers. Brent, remember they started the season with 3 straight at home. They're also receiving the backing here. They opened as 3-point favorites, now sitting at 4, and as you mentioned, total down to 214.5.
So I say tune your TV over to the NBA tonight. I think it's time to jump. It's been really entertaining. Some really good. I mean, Curry last night was as entertaining as any athlete, any place, World Series included. I mean, that was an unbelievable performance by him. And it looked to me like the rest of the team was just saying, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it.
Brent,
go
ahead.
Listen, when he gets hot, I mean, to me, he's the greatest shooter I've ever seen.
I agree.
You know, you can include Reggie Miller, Larry Bird, whomever you like, but the reality is at the end of the day, this guy's unbelievable. 15 for 24. 15 for 24. When you average more than 2 points per field goal attempt, that is amazing. 10 for 10 from the foul line, 11 for 16 from deep. This guy can just do it all. And here's the other thing, Brent. It's not just that he's a prolific shooter. He's so quick with the basketball, his ability to release the shot. And the problem is defensively, when he crosses half court, you know, you talk about in the gym range. This guy literally, as soon as he walks out of the parking lot, is in range.
Okay, there are also some college football games tonight on the slate. On Thursday, the Mid-American Conference, moving into that midweek schedule that people like so much. 4 o'clock hour, we got a couple of games going. Toledo at Western Michigan, Ball State at Ohio. What do we have on those games, Vinny?
Brent, Western Michigan up to 6.5 now off the 6-point opener. Got as low as 5 earlier today. So good two-way action on here, and no surprise, pretty high total here, 67.5, and headed to 68.
And then Ohio, I assume, is a pretty good favorite on Ball State.
10.5, Brent. This is a game that opened 10, so Ohio getting the money. These Mid-American games, especially during the week, folks love to play them, and they love to bet the overs. There's another total at 66.
And then, Amal and Vinny, let me offer up one of the favorite teams of bettors, not necessarily bookmakers, Appalachian State playing Georgia Southern, and App State 5-1 against the number, averaging almost 45 points a game.
Brent, one of those teams outside of the Power 5 that people don't really get a lot of attention. Right? We talk about UCF. This App State team is very exciting to watch. They're getting a lot of backing here, from 8.5 up to 11 now, and the total sitting at 49.
And there's a buyback reason here, Amal. Georgia Southern has been lethal against the spread this year.
Oh, they've been outstanding. They're 6-1. They're at home. This is a revenge spot. Appalachian State beat them 27-6 last year. As good as App State has been, and if you really want to point to, one of them was actually a loss in State College, but they had an opportunity to win that game. I just think in a conference game, when you're laying this type of number on the road, it can be a bit precarious. To me, I'm looking at Georgia Southern or not taking the game.
Okay, now we go to the ACC and the Big 12. ACC, Georgia Tech goes into Hokieville to play Virginia Tech.
Right, this one bouncing back and forth between a field goal, Virginia Tech favored on the opener, and 3.5. So all we're seeing is Virginia Tech money coming at laying the 3. Georgia Tech money taking the 3.5. Presently, 3.5. The total on this one, 59.5.
Taquan Marshall, the quarterback for Georgia Tech, is going to play in this one. He's key to their offense, but he has not been that effective in terms of throwing the ball. We know what he can do running the football. I'm just not convinced they're going to be able to go into Lane Stadium and get a win. They've won 3 out of their last 4 against the Hokies, but I think that trend could come to an end tonight.
Okay, West Virginia's had a week off licking its wounds after their first loss. They host Baylor, And West Virginia, the Mountaineers, a big favorite here.
They are, Brent. 14-point favorites, a little bit of a tick back to 13.5, but that didn't last very long. West Virginia Mountaineers getting the majority of the money here, sitting as 2-touchdown favorites, and the total at 67.
West Virginia really struggled in Ames last time out. Give Iowa State credit. But I think this Baylor team under Matt Rule has been quietly a much more competitive team than people realize, Brent. They had an opportunity in Austin. They had the ball late in the red zone against Texas, couldn't convert. They did lose to Duke earlier this year at home. But I think this is a tough number for the Mountaineers to be able to cover. And I'm kind of concerned a little bit about the psyche of this team. You know, they thought there was an opportunity potentially to get into the playoff, maybe win the Big 12. How does this impact them in this game tonight?
And there are some attractive matchups in the National Hockey League today. Pretty good schedule, and the Grand Salami, total goals by all the teams, sits at 58.5. It was an under number, and a shorter schedule last night that prevailed in the Grand Salami. I'm always attracted when two of the original six meet. It's just my age. The New York Rangers are in Chicago playing the Blackhawks, Vinny. That's 24-63 on your rotation.
And the Blackhawks, Brent, $1.60 favorites. This, I guess we could call this, I love your reference to the original six. This is the all-iconic jersey game here. Again, Blackhawks, $1.60. No movement. Total on this one, 6 and the puck line. Blackhawks, if you think they can cover the puck line at 1.5, it's plus some 75.
Rangers are playing a little bit better than initially started the season. I mean, if you look at the lines, they've been adjusted a little bit. Lundqvist is starting to come back to becoming Henrik Lundqvist, and Corey Crawford's gotten off to a good start for the Blackhawks thus far.
Yeah, 5-2, and 2 overtime losses. That's the Blackhawks. 3-5-1 for the Rangers. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh playing very well here in the early going. They bring a 4-1-1 record out to Calgary to play. So what do we have with the Penguins and the Flames?
Brent, the Flames up. This game opened as a pick'em, minus 110 to both sides, and now the Flames a slight favorite at minus 15 cents. The total pretty high, 6.5. No surprise here with particularly with the Penguins playing. And the Pens, though, minus a puck and a half and plus 260 on the puck line.
Wow, that's not a bad one if you can get that empty netter late. But these are both teams that are very good offensively. Pittsburgh, number 3 in the NHL in scoring. Calgary comes in at number 7. That's why you're seeing such a high total of 6.5 in this one.
Okay, so we've got a full schedule tonight. The World Series takes the day off. It'll resume with Game 3 in Los Angeles tomorrow evening. So I'm buying in on the NBA tonight. I'll keep an eye on the NFL, but Thursday night football, that matchup just doesn't do that much for me. Amal, what about you? Where are your eyeballs going to be?
College football, my friend.
College
There's
football
no
for
question
Mr.
about
Shaw.
it.
And Vinny, you will be watching the money flow on all of them.
Yes, I don't have a preference. I watch them all, as you know, Brent. That's the labor of our love.
Okay. Well, if Mr. Jimmy Vaccaro is not too busy behind the book, we'll find out how the money's flowing here at South Point. Back live, vsin.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at vsin.com.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
When you take a 3-team tease with 10 points, you're always under that gun. Well, I'll win 2, I'll lose 1, and then the bet's over. But I did my homework this week, as I try to do. And I really like UCLA.
And then who do you want to pair them with?
Houston is at Navy. They're at Annapolis. Houston is 11.5 points, so I would take that game down to 1.5, and then Houston would just have to win by 2.
Right. And then your third team.
Memphis is at Missouri.
And you liked Memphis last week. You were all over Memphis.
I was all over Memphis. Another high-powered team, very good offensive team. I think it's a shootout. I think this could be a 100-point game.
So I go play my lucky machine here, and knowing Ryan, Michael, you guys, this best machines in town. Bob Dancer will tell you. It took about 3 minutes, Mitch. Won about $5,000. Took about 3 minutes. I will buy you lunch today. Can you get a shot of me here? Yeah.
So you're showing up like at 4:01. We wave you off, and you decide to go play video poker, and you hit a royal flush in 3 minutes, and you just won $5,000.
Close to 5,000.
Yeah. It's good. I like the way that works.
You know, in baseball, when we talk about, those of us who handicap baseball and have done so for many years, we always, in our analytics, we talk about splits. And specifically, we talk about home road splits sometimes with certain pitchers. just an odd thing with certain pitchers based on ballpark. Some teams sign pitchers based on their skill set and their particular dimensions and conditions of their own ballpark. Some of these football teams in the NFL this year seem particularly home road splittish.
So they were really just protecting themselves. Yeah, except for that dude on the right. I don't know what he's clowns thinking he's going to do. Yeah, but the two guys that hit in the orange shirt and the blue, they weren't. Like, the orange shirt's more leaning towards the right. The guy in the blue is kind of protecting himself. Mookie's glove closed before the ball. I don't know if that's because he touched a hand or not and it's a reaction. I don't know if he's going to catch it, but what I do know is the fans did not go into the field of play to interfere with that ball. I thought that calling that an out was wrong. I mean, I don't know how else you put it. Jose Altuve in Houston got robbed.
Now back to Sin City and my guys in the desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204 and vsin.com.
Well, Vinny and Amal, we say hello to Jimmy Vaccaro. And Jimmy, I'd like to get your opinion on this. The NFL earlier fired an official by the name of Hugo Cruz. He missed a big call in 2 weeks ago when the Chargers played the Browns, and the Chargers scored a touchdown, and there was illegal motion on the play, and Cruz did not call it. And the NFL Referees Association has now released a statement ripping the NFL for terminating Cruz, and I quote, "The NFL has a troubling history of knee-jerk reactions with an eye on public relations, and clearly it has not learned from past mistakes. The National Football League Referees Association will protect the collectively bargained rights of all officials and will challenge this reckless decision through the grievance process." Now, your reaction, Jimmy, to the league firing a referee. Now, full disclosure, it is possible that Cruz has made other mistakes. I want to be perfectly clear on this. I don't follow all the calls of all the officials. I was surprised when I saw that this man had been fired today. And Jimmy, your feeling?
Overreaction. They're doing that in everything that they do anymore. It's even sifted down to the sporting industry also. I mean, it's really not a big deal when you hear that. Everybody wants to protect of what they have. Nationally, the NFL is an absolute moneymaker from all points. So it throws a little bone out to us by simply saying we got rid of the guy who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So, Brent, it's the same old thing. Should they have fired the referee when Franco caught the ball off the ground against the Raiders in 19?
John Madden would say yes.
John Madden would say, so would I. I'm on John's side because I bet against the Steelers.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, there you go. It's the same thing, my friend. It never stops. It is what it's going to be. The cash cows are going to win every time they make a step.
No question. Now, I was listening to Pat Kerwin coming out on the NFL Network. He said an interesting thing. He said, what's wrong with suspending an official? Why don't you just suspend him for a couple of weeks? Sit him down. He said, why do they suddenly come out and go full bore? He's fired. I mean, and I found myself agreeing with Pat when he said that. Amal, your feeling?
Well, I think you made the original point. That's correct. There were probably some transgressions previously. I will tell you this. Have you seen the play in question?
Oh, it was obvious.
I mean, Stevie Wonder could have seen it. I mean, the offensive lineman had such an early start. The other problem with it was a false start on the left tackle for the Chargers. It was a touchdown on the play for about 40 yards by San Diego for a touchdown pass. The problem was half the defense, the broadcasters, everybody saw it. And it was like everyone was in slow motion. But I'm with you guys. I think it's probably a bit of an overreaction, but I don't know what's been his record in the past in terms of some other mistakes.
It's an appeasement. I mean, let's face it, Brent. We talked going into the season. One of the solutions was to have a better form, a better process of review. Just plain and simple. Let's look at the instant replay up in the booth. Make it right on the field, right then and there.
So my reaction, Amal, to what you're saying, is why didn't one of the other officials call it, even if it's late?
I was wondering the same
Somebody
thing.
had to see it.
When I looked at the replay, there were about 3 officials. The main referee, because who's behind the play, but maybe from his angle he didn't see it. And where this guy was stationed, it was the most obvious in his sight of vision. But I thought there was another official who could have seen it as well, who was one of the side judges.
Well, it's like everything else. He didn't get rewarded if he made a good call.
Yeah.
He only gets bashed because he made a bad call.
You know what? When we had Mike Pereira on here last year during the Super Bowl, one of the things that I love that Mike said is the bashing officials has to stop. And I agree with him. It's the only job that's out there that I can think of where if you're good at it, nobody knows who you are. And if you're bad at it, you get criticized.
Well, Mr. Musburger, you can answer this better than anybody in the whole country. If they didn't show the replays on the big screen, it would be okay. But as soon as you have to show it on the big screen because everybody else shows it also. And you're in that stadium, if you can't see the call, you accept it, good, bad, or indifferent, and get to the next play.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason why, Jimmy, for a long, long time, the NFL would not put controversial calls up on the big screens at the stadium. But they realized that people were staying away from the stadiums because they had access to replays at home or with their digital equipment, their telephones or whatever. So now you see just about every play within the stadium. You're absolutely right. Now, Jimmy, this is absolutely fascinating. I like numbers from television networks and things like that, ratings. And, for example, I think the Thursday night rating might be a little bit flat for Fox tonight simply because of the matchup and for no other reason. A pretty good NBA doubleheader, and there's a lot of college football up there. From Labor Day weekend through last night's World Series Game 2, 80% of all Fox viewing has been viewing of sports programming. Now, this speaks to what Jimmy and Vinny and Amal have been saying all year. Sports fans and gamblers, they watch the games on television. And that is an enormous, just an enormous viewing regarding sports on Fox. I mean, 80%. That's stunning. But Jimmy, just like you keep saying, listen, the betting handles keep going up for sports.
And it's not going to cease anytime soon. Matter of fact, it's never going to cease, only because we found a niche in society where obviously now the general public is being involved. I always go back in a kind of fun way with my cousins and friends back east. I mean, they live and die by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's insane. They would rather see their game that day as opposed to taking their kids on a picnic. That's what we're coming down to. But you know what? It's not that bad. It's a great release. How can you say it in a nice way? It doesn't cost you a lot to view all the football games. And in today's world, you can see all the games while you're watching the Steelers also. So it's just an added treat. Every week, Brent, the ticket count goes up. As you know, the Showtime people are here, and they've been here for a few weeks now, and they're going to make a big segment about it, and it rightfully so. The time is right. It is a time to move forward with even more that we're doing. But always remember this. If they didn't show, there'd be no shows. Yeah. End of story.
To Jimmy's point, Brent, that those numbers coincide with the expansion of sports wagering in other jurisdictions, particularly back in New Jersey. So I don't think there's any coincidence there. To Jimmy's point, it's also, the fact is, it's entertainment, and it's a form of entertainment that is pretty economical when you think about it overall, and it's a great social setting. So you put all of that together, and those numbers will definitely continue to rise as more jurisdictions get sports wagering.
You know, to that stat we showed about Fox, 80% of the programming being viewed as sports. The last TV show I watched, Brent, was Seinfeld. I can't even tell you a single show. I hear friends of mine talking about Breaking Bad and all these other shows. I'm like, if it's not sports, I don't watch it. I don't watch television otherwise. And I think as gambling continues to increase, you'll see more and more people because now, one of the things that was hard, and Jimmy and Vinny know this extremely well, you go back in the days, remember people would be calling on phone numbers, waiting a minute and a half to get a score update? Now you get it instantaneously. Every game is accessible, whether it's college, professional sports. I mean, you can get the NBA, NHL package. Everything is right there.
And Brent, we were pushed to this because we were pushed from behind the counter. Because day after day, week after week, month out of every month and year after year, the people kept demanding more. So like any business that you're in, no matter what you do with your life and how you spend it, you have to keep reintroducing yourself to something new. We went from 40 years ago to betting maybe the side and the total on the game.
Right.
Now, even the games that don't mean that much, we have 20 proposition bets on it. It was only pushed because the general public wanted it that way, and we have to do it that way, or we'd be out of business.
Speaking of prop bets, we had several last night, Jimmy, here at the South Point, and there were a lot of prop bets all around town. And the one that a lot of bettors enjoy, it's like the coin flip before the Super Bowl. Will a run be scored in the first inning? And no, minus 125 was the winner last night. Team to score first in the World Series Game 2. Red Sox broke through first, plus 110. There were a winner right there. And then will the total combined runs be odd or even? And it was even a total. And total runs, hits, and errors, 26.5, and the under was the winner there. Amal, I know you were. Well, go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll switch something in a second. Go ahead, Amal.
Brent, the only play I had last night, I had David Price over 5 strikeouts. He wound up with 5. It was plus 130. I thought it was a good number, particularly based on the way
Is that all he had last night?
Yeah,
as long as he
won?
won?
5 strikeouts. Yeah, unfortunately, he didn't get over that hump. But I felt pretty good because he was there after the 4th inning. So I was like, hey, I got an inning, maybe even 2.
Arlene noticed one thing that's kind of interesting. He talks to himself quite a bit out there.
Well, listen, when you're out on the mound as long as he is, you better find someone to talk to.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of the longest games. But we had a rather quick World Series game because there were so many outs and were not a lot of walks in the game, and it moved along at a pretty good pace, better than Game 1.
Well, what people may have forgotten last night is the Red Sox pitching staff, including David Price, they retired the last 15 Dodgers consecutively from the 5th inning on. And if you go back to the end of the 4th inning, so that'd be 16 consecutive hitters that they erased.
Brent, that's to Jimmy's point and what Amal's saying. That's why tonight's game, right? Not a great matchup, as we talk. There's still a couple of dozen different ways to bet the game.
On the NFL game.
On the NFL game tonight between the Dolphins and the Texans. And, of course, again, side, total, first half, money line, second half wagering, in-game wagering here at the Subway and throughout Las Vegas.
Switching. NBA totals, we got our butts kicked for the 5th day in a row yesterday.
Well, then everybody must have weighed in on the Warriors.
Everybody wanted. You know, obviously, there is something to this, getting the ball off the rebound in 14 seconds, whatever.
There's no question.
But here's the powwow I just had with the kids behind the counter. Very simple. Listen, kids, here's what we do. They go over 130. The old way would be, well, we'll go to 130 and a half.
Yeah.
Anybody that bets you over, you move it, or under, you bet it, you move it a point and a half. You must find out quickly where this stops. Now, once again, don't feel sorry for us out there, but just like, we are a business, and we have to try to cut corners every now and then, but the totals have just been insane. What can I tell you?
There's 239 was hung initially on the Lakers, and now think about that, okay? First week of the NBA's regular season, first couple of weeks, and we got a 239 hung on a game with Nuggets were decent last year. Lakers were mediocre, but they've added LeBron James, and that one's come down a little bit.
Well, here's the thing, Brent. It's still, the Lakers on the second night of a back-to-back. Sorry, they had to travel. I mean, it was a short trip to Phoenix. The other part is still 2 players suspended for them, right? So you got Ingram, no Ingram tonight, no Rondo. So an adjustment there for that. But there'll be plenty of over money by the time we get the tip-off.
Help me out. There was a team last night that scored 49 points in a quarter. That's incredible.
I'm sure there was. I mean, Golden State put up one.
I knew Golden State had a 43 ball, but I think there was one higher.
They had 46 and one.
144 was the highest individual
Lakers
total. That was the highest individual total. There was a 123 and a 122. Nobody broke through 130. No. The Bucks put up 123. Giannis had a huge night, triple-double for them. The Raptors, they stayed undefeated. They put up 122, and they gave up 105. But I'm seeing some 87s, 86s, 89s, 96, a couple of 97s. Memphis held to a 92. We had a 97-92 game last night, so obviously the overbettors were not attracted to Memphis-Sacramento. They looked elsewhere.
Brent, a couple of things. The high quarter that I saw last night was Golden State at 46. Yeah. But I got to give Vinny credit. So we were watching the Atlanta-Dallas game in the first quarter. The Hawks are down 20. And then at one point it was 25-point lead for the Mavericks. And I said to Vinny, I said, why didn't somebody tell me to take the Mavericks? He goes, I'm all. This thing is far from over. Yeah, Hawks come back and win the game by 7.
It was Milwaukee, Jimmy, that put up the huge quarter.
Well, let me go back, and here I am dating myself again. There was a time when the playoffs, especially with the slow walk up the court to try to see where everything was at and what to do, totals were 193.
Mm-hmm. Under 200, I remember that.
Was the moves from all the wise guys at that time. And I guarantee it was 55% on the unders as opposed to the overs at 193. totals bet down to like 189. They do that in the half anymore. Yeah. It's incredible.
And again, it's the rule change that's driving this, right? A 10-second differential on an offensive rebound. Instead of a fresh 24, it's a fresh 14. More shots, more points.
I had a radio announcer, Jimmy, today in Chicago, and he had seen a global over-under. One of the games of the year coming up in the National Football League. The Los Angeles Rams are going down to Mexico City to play Kansas City, okay? I believe that game is in November. He said that the early global over-under was 63 on that. I can't remember. Now, college, we get 63s every week. Jimmy, can you remember any kind of an NFL game with a 63?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Did we have one?
Well, the Patriots and the
Chiefs.
And the Chiefs, did they have 60. A 63? That was 60.
It was 63.
Right.
But don't get your little behind caught in the bear trap with this one. They're playing at a stadium where it's muddy all the time. They play soccer there. And every time they played in Mexico for the past 20-some years, under was the move with that one. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be under money in this one. Trust me on this one, Mr. Musburger.
Jimmy, my favorite bookie. Begging for under money on the game.
Oh, here we go. Like I'm begging.
Hey, my teaser cards are out. I'll be getting back to you tomorrow, my friend. Anyway.
I'm not done with you yet. I got a lot of stuff.
What do you got here, lad?
You want to do it now?
Sure. Okay. What, you want to wait?
Yeah, I'll wait.
All right, let's pay some bills. Visa.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at vsin.com.
You didn't catch VSiN last week. Here's some of what you missed.
We ready? We take teasers on the NBA.
Oh, my man.
Hold on.
My man knows. I can't resist. How about Moneyline Parlay?
There you go. How can you tease the NBA? There's 220 points might be scored.
That's my
this
point.
Extra 4.5 points are really going to do me good. I guarantee he makes the bet.
I can lay 8 with the Warriors. Okay. All right. Now, the Celtics, I can bring them down. Which way, Vinny, do I make more money on the $100? The tease or the money line?
Hey,
Okay.
do yourself a
So-
favor. Don't quit either job you have.
You know, I watched last week when they Purdue put 46 straight points up on Illinois. And the play calling, creative and aggressive play calling by Jeff Brom is something you just don't see from a lot of coaches. And frankly, there's a lot of NFL coaches would be served to watch film of this guy's play calling and adjust, because I love how aggressive the guy is, and I think they're going to attack Ohio State Saturday night in prime time, and I think the Buckeyes are going to be sweating. They should be on upset alert. I wouldn't be shocked if Purdue wins that game straight up.
Could you please, sir, give us one moment of non-humility where you share once again the stuff that actually started with you? Because we talk about season wins with Jimmy all the time, but you started some stuff.
I had a few things I started. The mega teaser, the super teaser, whatever you call it, that card.
The three-team 10-pointer.
10-point teaser. Yeah, I was the first to come up with that.
That's you. The stuff that everybody takes for granted.
Yeah.
That was you.
I was the first to come up with that.
Wait, JVT's favorite team is the Colts?
Oh, you didn't know this? Loves the Colts. He's got a Colts. He has a Colts tattoo, Jay. He has a Colts tattoo.
Okay, that's inaccurate, but I do have a Colts watch.
Jay, let me ask JVT a question then. What does the Colts stand for?
I'm sorry?
What the Colts?
Like, what is a Colt?
The Colt.
It's a baby horse.
Yes, COLTS.
Oh,
what does that stand for?
I have no idea. What does that stand for?
Oh, I was told this by a Colts fan many years ago, and I still remember it today. Count on losing this Sunday.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, okay.
I'm Ron Flatter with your VSiN Action Update. Bettors here in Las Vegas are watching the line closely on tonight's Dolphins at Texans game. Houston has been a 7.5-point favorite most of the week, but with 60% of the bets on the Dolphins, some books are trying to get some Houston money by lowering the spread to 7. But removing the hook comes with as much as a quarter's worth of juice. The total, 44.5 or 45. College football tonight, Virginia Tech is a 3-point favorite at home against Georgia Tech. West Virginia laying 14, hosting Baylor. James Harden has a grade 1 strain of his left hamstring. Translation, He'll miss at least the next 2 games for the Rockets, who are early 3-point favorites at home tomorrow night against the Clippers. Tonight, Detroit lays 9 hosting Cleveland. Portland is a 4-point favorite at Orlando. Boston is a 1-point road favorite against OKC. And the Lakers are catching 2.5 at home from Denver. Red Sox manager Alex Cora confirmed that Rick Porcello will start Game 3 tomorrow night when the World Series moves to Los Angeles. Rookie Walker Buehler will get the ball for the Dodgers. L.A. is a 53-cent favorite to win tomorrow night as it tries to cut into Boston's 2-0 series lead. The Red Sox are now minus 550 favorites to win the championship. 2 more new managers in the Bigs today, both leaving Tampa Bay. Rays bench coach Charlie Montoyo takes over the Toronto Blue Jays, and former Red Sox and Rays outfielder Rocco Baldelli is the new manager at Minnesota. In 2017, he was most recently Tampa Bay's Major League Field coordinator. Take advantage of VSiN's midseason special. You get total access to our live and archive video, plus Point Spread Weekly and our special betting guides. Only $99 takes you from now through the Super Bowl. Find out more at vsin.com/subscribe. More now with Brent Musburger here on VSiN.
Now back to Sin City and my guys in the desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204 and vsin.com.
Well, Amal, Vinny, and Jimmy, it is time right now to check in downtown. The mayor, Derek Stevens, and Mike Palm. Let's go live down to the D right. Wait a minute. Where's Derek, Mike? What's going on down there? Where's the big fella?
Yeah, the big fella had a meeting off property today, and he couldn't make it back in time for this. So instead of all the beer bottles, we got some bottles of water, the Amal Shaw special when he comes down here.
The Amal, the old Buckeye special. By the way, you've got a monitor right there, Mike. And my buddy Jimmy Vaccaro has brought in some very special artwork. Jimmy, what is that one frame picture that you're holding out? I want Mike to get a good look at this lad downtown.
You know, every once in a while, all our friends downtown, you know, sometimes they don't get the real picture of you. So we got to take you off your high horse every now and then.
Okay.
Musburger this, live from here, live from there. You know, there are other people on the panel, too, who had beginnings also.
Yes.
Now, this great-looking guy.
Look at that.
Look at that, huh?
Great-looking guy.
Is that Pete Maravich?
I could shoot like Pete. He was a starter on the team that was 4-17 in 1963. But we covered 15 times.
There we go.
All right. Mike, what do you make out of our hoopster here, Jimmy Vaccaro?
I didn't know they were posting numbers on those games that long ago.
Mike, I know you pay special attention to the World Series. What are your thoughts now after a couple of games? It looks to me like the Red Sox clearly are the superior team. Price, outstanding pitching job last night.
Yeah, going in, I thought that the Dodgers might be live if Sale was not healthy. I'm not sure Sale's fully right, and I'm still not sure the Dodgers are live. Interesting how the weather and that ballpark, I thought, did play a factor. Dodgers didn't play well defensively. Not used to that park and not used to the cold. But it all comes down to the fact that the Red Sox are just so good with 2 outs. 3 runs again in the 5th last night with 2 outs. They're getting 80% of their runs with 2 outs, and it seems like the Dodgers have very few 2-out hits. They got to get a runner on third and hit a fly ball to get a run in. I'm surprised that Walker Buehler's $1.50 favorite tomorrow night. I would have thought he would have been about $1.15, $1.20. So I think the value's with the Red Sox in Game 3.
With the Red Sox, okay. Yeah. Now there's, I know how you like midweek college football, and in the Big 12, Baylor at the West Virginia Mountaineers. Are you taking a shot at this game?
Yeah, I have to give Matt Metcalf, our sportsbook director, credit. 2 weeks ago, he put me on to Iowa State when they upset West Virginia there at Jack Trice Stadium. He said, you know, that number was 6.5. He said, Mike, this game is no more than a 2. And I disagreed. I thought West Virginia, so I laid off the game, and a good thing I did. I think the total tonight is way too high. 67, 68. I put this game in the mid-50s. I couldn't believe the total. I'm taking a strong play on both the first half and the game under here.
All right, under from Mike Palm. He's the king of the unders. What about Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech in the ACC? Under on that one too, Mike?
Yeah, I just had a couple guys walk up here in Georgia Tech sweatshirts that were talking to me during the break. They said they took the 3.5 tonight. I also thought this number was a bit high. You know, through the years, Virginia Tech has been pretty good at slowing down that triple option. Paul Johnson's offense. I'm not sure which way I'm going to play this. It's probably going to be an in-game wager, and it's probably either going to be I'm going to lay some points with Virginia Tech or I'm going to take an under, but I'm going to wait and see. I thought the number was a little high. It should be somewhere also in the mid-50s. Let's see if Georgia Tech can run the ball on Virginia Tech, and then we'll take a side.
Now, not the most attractive of matchups in the NFL tonight. The Dolphins are in Houston to play the Texans. How about this matchup?
Yeah, Houston just keeps looking better and better every week. Pretty impressive going to Jacksonville and winning that game like that. They starting to look like the team they were the first 6 weeks before the quarterback got injured last year. I think this number is actually a little bit low, and the game being in Houston, I wouldn't be afraid to lay it. I think the 44 could be a tad high, but I went with Houston.
Mike, Amal Shaw told me to tell you that he's not here today. He's been hiding under the desk because he knows full well that you came loaded for Buckeye today, my friend. So take over, Mike Palm.
I think Amal wants to say something first. Go ahead, Amal.
I do. You know what? I was waiting for it, and I fully deserve it. When you give up 49 points, including 28 to Purdue in the fourth quarter, Mike, have at it.
Well, I want to give Matty Human some credit. You know, we talked about when I was on the Windy City Sam's show with Derek on Saturday, I really loved Ohio State. I loved Purdue getting the 13.5 at that time when we went on the show because the Buckeyes have just been burning money every week. I didn't really think they were going to get blown out. Matty Humans called the upset, talked about taking plus 500 with Purdue. Let's talk about that game. I cannot fathom an Ohio State quarterback throwing 73 passes.
Yeah.
Haskins threw 73 passes. Now let's think about this. All right, he was 49 for 73 for 470 with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. So that's not too bad, 470. In the last 4 Alabama games, your boy Brent, Tua, 49 of 72, 1,033 yards, 13 touchdowns and no interceptions. Think about the divide between Alabama and the rest of the world.
Well, yeah. Listen, I was going to take it easy on Mike now. Now that you come in with that line, forget about it. You know what? It took another team from the state of Indiana since Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State since 1936. But here's the reality of it, Mike. As great as Alabama's been thus far, and I asked this question to everybody inside the top 10, who on Alabama's schedule would teams in the top 10 lose to thus far? Notre Dame would be undefeated with Alabama's schedule.
Yes, they probably would be. I'm not sure Florida would be. I don't know that they can score that much. But we'll see as Alabama comes down the stretch. They're still going to have to play Georgia, and now they get LSU. But think about this also with these 73. Let's not get off the 73 passes, Amal. Let's state a message here. You know, that shattered the all-time Ohio State pass attempts record held by Art Schlichter, whose claim to fame is he's one of the top 10 ranked American Greed episodes at this time. Another Ohio State con man.
Wow.
Is he still in the
personal?
He still is in the pen. But you know what? Hey, at least our running backs weren't shaving points.
He owes me $4,000.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's true.
Jimmy Schlichter owes you $4,000?
$4,000.
I think he's in a federal prison in Ohio. Let's see if we can get him on the line.
Tell me that story.
He was betting at the Mirage, betting his lovable 3 to 5 team parlays between $3,000 and $5,000 a day. So he came up one day and the kid wrote the ticket out, handed it to me. He said, "Tell Jimmy I'll be right back." So he never came back. So I had to put the $4,000 in the counter. He lost that parlay that day. I never seen him till he got arrested, which was like a month later. So if you see Mr. Schlichter from the pen, tell him I'll take $100. Wow. What a story, buddy. What an absolute story.
It is an absolute story. And, of course, the end of Woody Hayes came on an interception thrown by Art Schlichter against Clemson. And Bauman intercepted it in the end zone, ran to around midfield, and that's where he was slugged in the helmet by Woody, and that was his last game as a Buckeye head coach. And what is so sad about it is after Woody lost his job and was relegated to his office at St. John's Arena, it is Bauman who's had a lot of mental problems since that night. He was terribly upset and said, "Listen, I didn't even really feel it, and I don't want to be held responsible for Woody Hayes being fired." It's a very, very sad story.
Yeah, it really is. It's unfortunate that a prolific career, he was there 27 years, won 4 national titles, ends in a situation like that. But, you know, listen, here's the thing. At the end of the day, sportsmanship is very important. And to be able to, when you are at an institution, whether it's Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, it's not just, yes, it is about winning, but you have to also carry yourself in a certain way.
I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm sure Vinny does. Schleister had a radio show in town for like 2 years. He was on like 2 hours a day. And so obviously he burnt that out real quick also. And the coach for Ohio State, Mr. Hayes, he laid 6 on the game, so he was really mad. I could see him knocking out.
Oh, yes. Now, Mike, I know you pay a little attention to the history of college football. 73 passes in one game. How many passes in a season would Woody Hayes' Buckeyes have thrown back in the day? That was suddenly running through my head because he hated the forward pass.
Yeah, back in the late 60s and early 70s, I don't know if they'd have thrown 73 passes in their whole Big Ten schedule.
I agree.
Right.
As soon as you said that, I thought, wow.
Yeah.
And Woody Hayes would not definitely have approved of that. Woody was a legendary character. Listen, Mike, thanks a lot, my friend, and good luck. You're backing the Red Sox tomorrow night, Game 3. I think that's what I heard you say.
I am, Brent. I wanted to ask you one question,
Sure.
though. I want to be an equal opportunity comedian here, but could you confirm or deny the rumor I heard this week that you'll also become the radio voice of the Miami Marlins? You'll be doing every team that's dismantling themselves professionally.
Yeah, I figured that was coming. I was hoping to sign you up early. Okay.
At least they got good value. They got good value on that trade.
Yeah, the last trade I can't second guess at all.
Yeah.
Maury Cooper, get a #1 draft choice for him. That's fine. Okay, Mike, thanks a lot, my friend. We'll check in with you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Jimmy. You know that picture of a young Vaccaro
Yes.
basketball, but you got some other artwork over there. What do you got, my friend?
This one I'm proud of.
Okay.
I don't know. This is from Playboy. I think they're both. Playboy is when Tyson got knocked out by James Buster Douglas. So Playboy
Buster
got a hold
Douglas,
of me
yeah.
last year, and they had this wonderful picture of Douglas standing over top of Tyson. So they called me up. They did a story around it, and this is one of the things that I will always keep. Now, I also want to make it clear that Playgirl contacted me to be in their next centerfold issue also.
Is that the basketball picture?
It was a yin and a yang. Yeah, that was it. And one more thing, I'm not going to hold it
Jimmy,
up here.
didn't Playboy recently get rid of the nudes? Girls in the middle of the match. Didn't they make that change?
Let me check this month's application.
Okay.
The book's on my desk back there. Let me go see.
I'm surprised that you're still looking at it if they've made
Bob
a change.
Ferguson, #1 pick of the Steelers from Woody Hayes, 1960.
Yes.
He remembers Bob Ferguson.
Yes,
okay, one more
big-time fullback. Yes, sir.
One more serious thing. Now, this is from the paper. When I was back in Trafford 3 years ago, the Post-Gazette ran this story on holding its ground, talking about simply betting on legalized betting on sports wagering. So at that time, what's this? What's he telling me?
He's saying, hold it up.
But you can't see nothing.
That's the producer. He says, hold it up.
Hold it up and talk
He
into
said,
the
hold it
microphone.
up. There you go.
Listen, I'm new at this stuff.
I know.
So anyway, but the one thing on the bottom of it simply said that here's Goodell talking about, bonding with his daughter on fantasy football. Yes, ha, ha, ha. It's true you can bond, but they paid to be in a fantasy league. It's gambling, Mr. Goodell. I enjoy it because you've created another 50 million customers for old guys like me to stay off the street. But please, just come out and say there's a gambling portion to it also. Thank you. And this thing's getting too heavy.
Yes. Thank you. And the Jimmy Vaccaro Show will continue here on vsin.com, Sirius XM 204.
Can I leave?
It's my guys in the desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at vsin.com.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
When you take a 3-team tease with 10 points, you're always under that gun. Well, I'll win 2, I'll lose 1, and then the bet's over. But I did my homework this week, as I try to do, and I really like UCLA.
And then who do you want to pair them with?
Houston is at Navy. They're at Annapolis. Houston is 11.5 points, so I would take that game down to 1.5, and then Houston would just have to win by 2.
Right. And then your third team.
Memphis is at Missouri.
And you liked Memphis last week. You were all over Memphis.
I was all over Memphis. Another high-powered team, very good offensive team. I think it's a shootout. I think this could be a 100-point game.
So I go play my lucky machine here, and Ryan, Michael, you guys, this best machines in town. Bob Dancer will tell you. It took about 3 minutes, Mitch. Won about $5,000. Took about 3 minutes. I will buy you lunch today. Can you get a shot of me here? Yeah.
So you're showing up like at 4:01. We wave you off, and you decide to go play video poker, and you hit a royal flush in 3 minutes, and you just won $5,000.
Close to 5,000.
Yeah. It's good. I like the way that works.
You know, in baseball, when we talk about, those of us who handicap baseball and have done so for many years, we always, in our analytics, we talk about splits. And specifically, we talk about home road splits sometimes with certain pitchers. Just an odd thing with certain pitchers based on ballpark. Some teams sign pitchers based on their skill set and their particular dimensions and conditions of their own ballpark. Some of these football teams in the NFL this year seem particularly home road splittish.
So they were really just protecting themselves. Yeah, except for that dude on the right. I don't know what he's clowns thinking he's going to do. Yeah, but the two guys that hit in the orange shirt and the blue, they weren't. Like, the orange shirt's more leaning towards the right. The guy in the blue is kind of protecting himself. Mookie's glove closed before the ball. I don't know if that's because he touched a hand or not, and it's a reaction. I don't know if he's going to catch it, but what I do know is the fans did not go into the field of play to interfere with that ball. I thought that calling that an out was wrong. I mean, I don't know how else you put it. Jose Altuve in Houston got robbed.
Now back to Sin City and my guys in the desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204 and vsin.com.
All right, I'm all bang. Woj is at it again. ESPN, look at this scoop. Story posting. The Houston Rockets are making a renewed bid to acquire Minnesota All-Star Jimmy Butler. 4 future first-round draft choices in their most recent trade offer. League sources tell ESPN.
I'm going to let Vinny go first because I want to get his reaction first.
Put that back up. 4
Yes.
First of all, they don't have enough basketballs in Houston now. Number one. Number two, why would you give up 4 first-round draft picks for anybody?
Because your first-round picks are probably not going to be as good as Jimmy Butler is.
No.
I would make
4 first-round picks.
Listen, NBA picks, you basically just kind of recycle guys until you can find a franchise player. Jimmy Butler, to me, is a top 15 player in this league, and he's a difference maker. I think
they're already a good team. They're already a solid team.
Wait a minute. Okay. I don't even think they're the second-best team in the West.
They may not be the second, but they're a contender. You think Jimmy Butler makes them better than the Warriors?
I think he's a guy that can play both ways. Carmelo Anthony's a cone. James Harden's a traffic cone out in defense. I think he at least gives you somebody that can guard. He can potentially guard a Steph Curry. He's not going to slow him down completely. We know we can do offensively. I think he's a huge upgrade on their roster because I think right now they don't have enough to be able to even get past Utah. And here's the thing. You're going to have 4 first-round picks. They're going to be drafting in the 20s. Their first-round picks are going to be guys that are barely staying in the league.
I think from a depth standpoint, listen, I know it was a different time. The Lakers Milwaukee didn't get 4 draft picks for Jabbar. I mean, I think it's too much. I'm not saying that he wouldn't, be able to help that team, but for the long term, it's not just about today. It's about the future to your mortgage and your franchise. That's my opinion.
I don't disagree with that. Brent, can I just stay on the NBA topic? And I have a little bit of an issue with what David Stern said about the New Orleans Pelicans and Dell Demps and the trade with Chris Paul. I didn't understand why he felt the need to come out and basically throw the Pelicans organization under the bus for no reason at this point in time. When he came out and said, Dell Demps is a terrible general manager. Well, right now they've got arguably the second-best player in the NBA in Anthony Davis. This team is off to a good start. We'll see how they do. They had a pretty good run in the postseason last year. I just thought for a former commissioner to come out and tarnish an organization within his former league, I just thought was a little bit out of line there.
Was he asked the question, or did he just unprompted bring it up? Do you know?
I think he kind of volunteered it because I don't think anybody would have thought that's something that would be coming out of his mouth because he was so close to the vest for so long.
Well, it's interesting because the Jazz went in last night and took care of business in Houston, 100 to 89, and I was looking here. And obviously, Paul was not playing because he'd been suspended by the league, and that certainly would explain the deficiencies, or at least part of the deficiencies on the part of the Rockets last night, as they scored only 15 points in the second quarter, and were basically outscored in every quarter except the first. And Harden went 10 of 19 trying to carry the load, but Gordon, who started, was only 5 of 21 and 1 of 12 from three-point range. So they clearly missed Paul last night. And maybe because of that loss, that's what is starting to lead them to try and get Butler there.
Yeah. Well, I think their window is now. You know, you've got James Harden in the prime of his career. Chris Paul is at the twilight of his career. You have to be able to win now. And here's the thing. If you look at Brent, just look at the next 2 seasons. If you give up first-round picks, you're talking about players that are going to be in the 20s in the draft. And then maybe in the subsequent years, they're in the teens. You're not going to be looking at a team that's missing out on a lottery player. That's why I think the risk is worth the reward. If you were to somehow manage a way to get past the Golden State Warriors with Jimmy Butler, you win an NBA title, all of a sudden you forget about 4 first-round picks and you say it's worth it. Just like last night with the Red Sox paying Price $217 million when he throws 3 hits in 6 innings against the Dodgers. It doesn't look as bad.
I'm not so sure that there's good chemistry there right now in Houston, and I don't know if Butler helps that because chemistry is important as well.
I agree.
Now, if you're thinking long-term too, because let's face it, the Warriors may lose Durant next year. He's a free agent at the end of the year, so maybe if you're saying it's not just about this year, but it's also about next year and the following year, I just think that, again, either way, you do a good enough job in the front office to draft picks. If you get guys between 15 and 20, you can still have a good, solid team. I just think it's a lot. That's my personal opinion. 4 number ones is a lot for a player who sometimes he feels like playing it, sometimes he doesn't. I don't think he helped his reputation in the last month. That's all.
But, Benny, I can't believe that Durant is going to walk, okay? They're going to a new arena over in San Francisco. This is one of the great teams that we've had, and he seems to be deeply involved with this team. Why would he jump?
If it was the right deal, let's say in Madison Square Garden to help rebuild a storied franchise like the Knicks,
no,
I wouldn't be shocked if it happened.
LeBron James didn't want to do that either.
I think it's a different. I think
that's not going to happen.
I don't think he has the personality to do it.
Absolutely not.
Maybe not.
I think he.
No one will entertain it though.
Well, we'll see what happens. The bigger question to me is, are the Warriors willing to go over that luxury tax?
With the new arena, I'm saying they're going way
they
over
have to,
it,
right?
baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We got a flatter update
point.
coming up. VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.
Last week, here's some of what you missed.